Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah ta'ala wa barakatuhu. You're watching Safir TV on Sky 847. This is It Takes Two, and I'm Bilal Alihu. I'm joined this week, as always, by my co-host Ruby Soa. Assalamu alaikum, Ruby.
Alaikum salam. How are you?
I'm good.
Wonderful. Alhamdulillah.
And this week we have with us Sheikh Abu Jafar. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Assalamu
Good to see you, Sheikh. Good to see you. So this is a program where we explore the challenges that naturally occur in marriage and try to come up with solutions and creative ways of moving forward in more loving relationships. I want to jump into the first scenario today. It's a very, see what you think of this question. Quite unusual question, quite unusual scenario. Dear It Takes Two, I got married and I think I made a mistake. I am just not attracted to my wife at all. I don't need someone to cook and to clean for me, and I just don't think we have anything in common. I was abroad studying and everyone around me was getting married, so I thought it was the right thing to do. My wife is a good person, but as I said, I can't stand her as a wife. Even when she starts talking, I have no interest in her and I don't want to be unfair to her. I can't see a way out and I don't want to hurt her, but it's not working out on any level. Do I divorce her? Fed up in London. Wow. Ruby, I'd like to start with yourself as a sister, because I'm thinking about what women often invest when they get married to a man, and their expectations and the risk they take, like emotionally, to get married to a man. Just wanted to get your thoughts, but that was what came to my mind straight away as I read that.
Well, I think women have a lot to lose when you compare it to men. Most of the time, not all of the time, it's quicker for a man to rebound than it is for a female, especially a Muslim female, because you have to think about the cultures that people come from. You have to think about the aspect of, if they're trying to practice the religion, the importance that marriage is put on females, and the reverence we give to mothers and being leaders in the community, etc. So a decision to get married for a female is one that obviously could change her life for better or for worse, and it's not taken lightly. There's a lot of hope and expectations in there, and it's difficult for a woman to, once she's divorced, to remarry for so many reasons, be it cultural, be it family, be it financial. There's just so many reasons. So it's not a decision taken lightly, and it's really, sometimes women don't know what they need to be to men.
What do you mean by that?
In terms of, if he mentioned he doesn't need someone to cook or clean for them. Well, nobody does. You can go to the shop and buy ready-made food. Cleaning, you could go to the dry cleaners and get someone to do it for you. We all know that you're not going to die if someone doesn't wash your clothes for you.
It's an unusual comment, right? I don't need someone to cook and clean for me.
But she's trying to be things, that it is encouraged to keep the house tidy, make sure everyone's taken care of, etc., etc. So she's doing all these things, and he still doesn't feel satisfied. So you, as a woman, you don't know what to be. You have to be, the surrogate mother for the husband. You have to be the friend. You have to be the poster girl that he sees when he's driving. You have to be the best chef. You have to be the best dressed. You have to be this way. You have to. There's so many things that you have to be, and at the end, it could be that none of those things matter, but something else. So we're always being taught, and through the media, that how to be better women, what we need to do, and when you try and, it's just too many messages for women, and it becomes overwhelming at times.
Shay, there's so much pressure on women in general, not just Muslim women, but women. If we look in the let's say news agent, most magazines are targeted to women. if it's the Weight Watcher, how to get slim in 1 week.
Good housekeeping.
The new diet is always, the diets are always targeted at the women, or mostly targeted at women. The fashion industry, if it's $1 trillion, you know, it's a portion of that is, you know, dedicated to men. It's all on the women. This woman is now under pressure. This brother he married. He wasn't thinking straight. What's your first thoughts? Shane?
Women today are the victims of men's desires. This is a problem, and sometimes we may blame them if they don't meet that expectation that we expect. But the Quran says, "Asa an takrahu shay'an wa huwa khayran lakum." It may be that you may hate something which is good for you, and you may love something which is evil for you. So this is Wallahu ya'lamu wa antum la ta'lamun, and Allah knows and you don't know. This is said clearly in the Quran. So I witnessed a marriage of someone whom his relatives, they were expecting to marry educated woman who is working on the ministry or in the business somewhere. So who is posh, as you have said, who wear nice, you know. But the guy he ended up marrying someone who doesn't meet, you know, his expectation as such. So the relatives were putting pressure on this guy to divorce that woman and marry, you know, somehow a woman who is educated, who can talk to them when they are there, because this woman was not talking to relatives as such. She was just busy in house chores and, you know, and busy with her husband only. When they come there, he doesn't say anything. He just cook for them and, you know, and entertaining them, but they don't hear anything. She doesn't say her problems or anything. So, you know, our families, African families, normally, they like to know what is going on from the in-laws, from the... So, and this girl was, you know, some, I don't know what to call it, outside of the city girl, you know, far away from the cities. So then the guy divorced the woman, and he married someone who is, you know, expecting to be, you know, somehow.
What happened then?
After that, the guy became sick after so long. After he divorced the
first wife.
The first wife went and find a place, cooking food, snack it and sell. You know, going on. You know, women who are determined. You know, she was selling, you know, good, and so after that, the man gets sick, and he was on dialysis with the kidney. And for so long, and the woman is working. His wife is working, and she couldn't cope with the situation. So the educated woman, she left. She left the husband in that critical situation.
In his hour of need.
Yes. So the former wife heard about the situation, that the other guy is sick and he's in hospital, dialysis and other. So from day one, she was at the hospital.
Wow, subhanallah.
Cooking food for the ex-husband and doing whatever she can.
Dedicated.
And she even offered the husband, the former husband, the kidney, her own kidney.
Oh my God.
She went to the doctor, She went to the doctor and said, if it is possible for me to save, you know, his life, I'm ready to take out my kidney, you know. But they examined the blood, they see it doesn't, you know, match. But she was ready. So the guy really started crying on the hospital bed, and blamed, you know, his relatives concerning that. So here now, this one who is divorced, but she was so in love with a man in that critical situation. He even offered to get married again, and the woman said, no, you left me in that situation, but I love you because I remember what good you have done for me in my life. But we cannot go back but I'm here for you with all kind of need you need. So we have to think about all of this.
Be careful.
Sometimes we may think that, okay, this woman does not meet my expectation. Who told you what kind of expectation you're talking about? What's the definition of expectation? So this is very important.
Ruby, I don't know what this brother was thinking of. Fed up in London. our beloved brother. I don't know what he was thinking of. He got married, people were getting married, he was abroad studying religiously, whatever it was, and he got married. It just seems a bit casual, but so I think that a big responsibility and a big part of the scenario that's a problem is his you know, lands at his feet. But I have to ask you, you mentioned a lot of things that women have. There is pressure on women, right? Cook, food, nutritionist, good with the children, all these different things that men have. But yes, I was getting to that. Yes. I was going to get to that.
Spirituality.
I was going to say
others.
Go into human nature, not the highest form of spirituality, but just human men. In some aspects, a lot of men are affected when a woman has, what's this French word, like a bit of va-va-voom, a little bit of, you know, charisma. That sometimes she might not be the best cook, but her husband is still, when she walks in the room, his pupils dilate because she makes him, you know, interested.
You've watched a lot of Disney movies. Mashallah. No, well, we're not blaming him for that, obviously. But again, he decided to marry this woman. A gun wasn't put to his head.
No, but can she spice it? Can she shock him?
Why should she spice it? Maybe she's doing the best she can. Mm-hmm. She's going above and beyond, even doing things that may not be second nature to her or she's comfortable with. Maybe the onus is on him. He agreed, remember, contractual, he agreed to marry this woman.
He did.
He should have done his research. He had plenty of opportunity to even speak to this woman, engage, see if they have the same interests. That hasn't been done because he sounds like every time she opens her mouth, he's shutting her down. Mm-hmm. Same interests, same philosophies, same sense of humor, whatever. He hasn't done that. It almost feels like it's like, what is that, kind of a gang mentality. He sees his friends get married, so he thinks, I'll get married quite casually, no thinking about it.
A little bit like it wasn't
I'll
a thought,
get married. I don't want to be the only guy who's not married here. You know, did he say religious studies or something?
I believe it was, yeah.
Yeah, so he's in an
environment. He was a student abroad anyway. He's a
student abroad. He's probably feeling a bit lonely as well, but hasn't really thought about the next 5 years, next 10 years, anything. And now he's surprised why there's no spark, as you would say there. Well, you haven't really done your homework. Mm-hmm. You really haven't. So I'm not surprised. So the onus is, because he's entered into this, he now needs to try and make it work.
I think you're right. I think that there's a saying sometimes when people say, you know, I'm bored, and then they say, well, maybe you're boring. Exactly. And the truth of the matter is that sometimes if you want to get the best out of a person, you can't wait around for them to be your entertainer, but you have to bring something to the table that will ignite something in them that then you get to see the best out of them, not as opposed to sort of they've got a responsibility or a duty to, like you're the king and they're a jester in your court, you know, bring me something to eat or, you know, dance or whatever it is, you know. So maybe the brother does need to think about why he got married. What was it that he saw in a sister when he first got married that he appreciated in her, and can he maybe ignite that and see if they can work together and find the right way of communicating that with her, that maybe they need to go out or add something to their marriage to improve things.
I'm thinking that not only that, not that I'm suggesting anyone to be miserable and stay in a situation that might ultimately, you know, bring out the worst in them and they may be unjust. But if you look at our great-great-great-great-grandparents, for example, not everybody married each other because they were the best looking, the most intelligent, or what they could bring to the table. The mission was to form a union. And not everybody, you know, has the same educational level, but they got on with it because they found what their roles were, and both of them were prepared to bend and flex where appropriate. You know, you didn't
working together
exactly. But I feel that this guy's just jumped in head first and has got up and is like, how did I get here? You put yourself in this situation.
Indeed.
So do the work.
Sheikh, just before we move on to the next question, could you just mention just something about the preparation that people need to apply, both brothers and sisters, before they get married?
I think preparation is very important in many things. Even when you go to pray, you need preparation. Fasting, you need preparation. And people, they need to understand the institution of marriage. Perhaps in our Islamic community nowadays, we lack of these type of instructions to our youth. I think we need to have seminars, because most of the young people nowadays, they come out from school and then they go to work, and then after uni they go to work, then they don't have any time to know about Islamic ethics, to know about marriage, to know about whatever. So when they're grown up, they just go and marry someone that they know or someone that they used to talk to, whatever. So I think we need to institutionalize these things like how it was before. Because when we grown up, you go to school, but you have your grandfather. He's telling you about things. He's teaching you about things those days. But these days, nowadays, we don't have such kind of time even to see. Many of us, maybe we didn't even see our grandfather. Where are they? Because of the, lifestyle, whatever. So I believe that we need to prepare our young people, youth, into this, because they don't have time to prepare. And unlike before, because I remember when I was in school, we were in primary school those days, and boys' school and girls' school are separate. So in secondary school, then there is a mix between girls and boys. So the first time when the girl was kept with the same table with me, I started crying. But today is something else. I feel very, uneasy to sit down with a girl in the same table. You get my point? So when we come out from school, the girls are in their own group, the boys in their own group. You cannot even go together and talk. So the culture is different, the generation are different. There is a gap in this. So because marriage needs preparation, as you have said, we need to start doing this in our
preparation. What do they say? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail, or something of this nature. All right, let's go on to our next question. So the next question reads, Dear ItTakes2, I have a deaf child and I am frustrated that my husband has done very little to learn to sign or communicate with him. I feel as his father, there are going to be times when he would want to talk to his dad about things, but my husband is unresponsive. There are several deaf people in our community, but he makes very little effort to get involved. I know he loves our son, but I get so overwhelmed, I just burst into tears. He knows enough to get by, but not enough to make simple hand gestures. Hoping my son picks up on what he's trying to communicate. I go to bed every night worrying about my son's future. For example, will he get married? I know it is not the end of the world, but I need my husband's support, and he simply doesn't get it. How can I make my husband understand that I need his support and that his son needs a father who is responsive and involved in his life? I know that you have some knowledge, working experience with children with little extra needs. Could you start us off on the right foot?
Okay, I think when you have a child who has additional needs, the first thing you need to do is absorb what has happened, what you've been given. And it can come as a shock because you're worrying about, you're going from 0 to 100 in 1 second, from the minute they're born to when they're going to get married, and even how are they going to adjust in the community, and what if I need to go to you need to take a step back, and you need to know there's so many resources available out there to you that you need to tell someone how you feel. When you feel overwhelmed, tell somebody. Don't keep it all in. Don't, because you being frustrated, these children pick up very easily the signals from their parents. It's like their other senses are heightened,
yeah, that's right,
sharpened. Right. What you need to do, and sometimes it's very common for one parent not to be able to accept what has happened, and it takes a long time for them to come around to see things as you do. A lot of the time, the mothers, just because of the responsibilities, they come out very quickly.
Better, emotionally more
a lot of the time, but
at times?
sometimes they can also withdraw.
Okay.
But the child is deaf, and he or she needs both parents, because there are going to be times in every.
I think it's a boy. Just to jump in, I think it's a boy, and what she's worried. So this sounds like part of a worry is that there will be some sensitive issues where a boy needs his father. Exactly,
and it's his onus. I think of it like this: when we're parents, we think about everything, and we think about the time then our child makes their first steps, or when they have their first bike ride. A lot of the time, that happy joy moment is given to the dad, or something. You run out on a wet, cold day trying to show the child how to ride the bike. And these are kind of milestones that are important to the child. And it forms, lasting memories. And as a male child, he will need his dad. He will need a male role model, especially in the Islamic community, in the Shia community, where unfortunately we need to make a lot of strides when it comes to senior citizens, people who have disabilities. We have some really good centres that do cater to them, and madrasas and stuff, but we have a way to go. So think about Islamically, there are going to be issues, as you said, that the mother may feel that it's more appropriate for the father to address.
I think that's a fact.
If he's not taking the time, he's doing simple hand gestures just to get by, like eat, sit, sleep, it's not going to be really helpful.
It doesn't cut the mustard. It
really doesn't, and it frustrates the child, because they still want to communicate. They still want to be involved. These are regular human beings that express themselves in other ways, through sign language, through so many lip reading, etc. And there's so many courses. There are even free courses available, and it doesn't take
online
much.
As well as in YouTube and different mediums that you can learn from. Not necessarily.
And they could do it together. The child and the father could do this together. And just to give the mum some time to relax. She can't always be there. What happens if she needs to go shopping, for example? And she leaves it. Are they not going to communicate? Are they going to walk around with bits of paper?
This dad it's like he's cheating himself. I mean, you mentioned something just now, when you said about the day that their children walk or ride a bike or whatever. My eldest son, he's 17 now, and I can remember when he was small enough to fit on my shoulder. He's massive. He's bigger than me now. He's well built, but one of the best days of my life as a father was making a snowman with him. Something as simple as that. This dad's robbing himself. I got pictures of me and my son in the snow.
Good.
What would you advise?
What would you say, Shay?
I think there is a gap, cultural gap in the West. Maybe the children belong to their mothers mostly because of society how it is, and the children here, I see them, they are more connected with their mothers than their fathers, because the division of labor maybe, or maybe fathers work very far from the city or another city. I know people who live in Birmingham and they work in Oxford, which is every day, driving and coming back at night. So when they reach there, the children maybe they already sleep. It's the only day that they will meet, maybe on weekends sometimes, So it is very hard sometimes to for the fathers all the time to be, supportive to their children as such. But the mothers are the one who take them to schools, who bring them from schools, who go with them to hospitals, so they are well connected, who go shopping with them and kind of thing. So because of work here, and sometimes it's very difficult for a man even to get time to go shopping with his children sometimes. Depends upon what kind of, but back home in other countries, long ago, it was that you must stay with your father. The boys will feel even shy to stay with their mother and sisters, could be connected with the father. So the father will take you to the market, the father will take you to outside. If you go to a farm, the father will take you to go to hunting.
That's some kind of manhood training, some rites of passage.
So you know exactly in the close range, the what is life from the beginning. You start, being more.
I used to be a man.
Yes. But with the advent of technology now and television, it's very difficult. So the whole world become, now we have one culture. So it is very hard to see men now talking to their children, even to their wives sometimes. So this is really a catastrophe for the families.
Will the father be questionable for his lack of input? Like Islamically, is this something that fathers need to be aware of if they're not playing a more hands-on role or
yeah, this is why I'm saying that according to the Quran, it says الرجال قوامون على النساء, but most of the people, they translate this phrase very bad. They think a man has to be there as what can I say, like someone who dictator to the women. No, because Allah, He used the phrases, what He want. He used the phrase as it is. Qawamun is from the root word qama, to stand. So when a man is qawamun ala nisa, is the one who make a woman supportive. A man is supporters of women, not dictators to women.
Okay.
Right? So if that is the case, then if the women do care for the children, then men has to do the same. So the role of a man here is so vital, especially when the child is a male child, because there are other type, girls cannot say anything to the father sometimes. She may prefer to talk to the mother, but the boys are there for them. So he's supposed to be there. Hence he's deaf. He need more support from the father than from the mother. So he doesn't have no excuse.
No excuse.
Not to
communicate.
come into
No
the
excuse.
Yeah.
It's such a shame, and what I mean, it'd be interesting to, if I had the opportunity to speak to the sister or even speak to the brother to get more information, but I don't know why I sense like there may be something going on psychologically for the husband, in a sense, like we just touched on it before, like sometimes men don't adjust to things like this as quickly, and because mum is every day taking the boy to school or changing him and hands-on, she had a chance to absorb that, but the man maybe like hasn't really processed it, and he's almost protecting himself emotionally by being simplistic. It keeps it, he doesn't have to take it in on a deeper level.
And what could happen is, because the child's deaf and really wants to communicate and get people's attention, they may be very boisterous and very hyperactive.
Turned up.
Because they want to be heard like every other child.
That's right.
So the father may be just switching off and sitting back because he's frustrated by this behavior, that the child may be, literally bouncing off the walls because he wants to communicate and engage. So that might be a reason why he's taken back, like, oh, it's another issue to deal with. But the child's going to be here, inshallah, for how many years? And every person has a right to communicate. And the father needs to step up because it's his responsibility to teach the child so many things. I mean, what's he going to do? How is he going to teach a child Quran? Just because he's deaf doesn't mean the child cannot, learn how to read and say Quran. These are lessons that are taught for deaf children. How's he? There's other obligations that he has to think about, that he has a duty of care over. So it's time for him to, yes, if he feels sorry or frustrated, or even if he feels like he's been given a hand that he doesn't appreciate, he needs to deal with those, and he needs to work with his wife, because this child needs them on so many levels, more than other children may do.
And maybe this child is, and him having the inability to hear, is like a potential for the dad to grow. And he's, it's like a classroom that, sometimes Allah presents you with a difficulty, but it could help you to raise, yourself to a next level spiritually, So he really is missing out on more than one level.
Exactly.
But, it's been very, very insightful and enjoyable today. And I really appreciate your presence, Sheikh, and Ruby. I appreciate your presence and your words.
Always
also.
Welcome.
And we appreciate you all for staying with us for the duration. And please continue to send your letters in to ItTakes2, and we hope to see you next week for another edition. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.